Welcome to Spooky Ass Shit. I am your host, Eric Dwinells, and returning tonight, my guest co-host, Emily Ferguson.
Well, hello there.
How you doing?
I'm pretty good. How are you doing?
Well, I've been better.
You have.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, let's see. This is coming out after the episode about rabies.
Right.
And the episode about rabies was the last one I recorded as a regular human being.
Before the incident?
Yeah. The very next morning, walking out to my car, I didn't get very far.
Nope.
I just got off the front steps and I slipped on a puddle of ice in front of the house. And I have a complex fracture of my ankle.
You busted your ass.
And a dislocation.
Yeah.
And it's going to need some surgery.
It's pretty freaking gruesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If anyone's familiar, if you got any basketball fans out there, my surgeon compared it to Gordon Hayward's injury from the Celtics.
Whoa.
And I remember watching that with my supervisor at work because he came in. He's like, "Did you see the game last night? Did you see what happened to Gordon Hayward?" And I was like, "No, I don't know what you're talking about." And then, he made me watch it. And I was like, "Oh, that's so nasty."
It's pretty awful.
And then I looked down and my foot looked the exact same way.
You're like, that's not the direction that's meant to be pointed in.
No, my foot, my ankle was pointing straight up and my foot was pointing to the side. So I am scheduled for surgery coming up. And we'll see how the show goes from there. But that's why I'm recording this episode ahead of time.
I think we should do an episode as you're coming out of anesthesia. That'd be really fun for everybody.
Listen, I'm on Oxy right now, so this might be an interesting episode anyway.
Well, I'm offended that you didn't offer me any Oxy when I came over.
Well, listen, I'm a legal, law-abiding
yeah, that's
citizen.
You.
But listen, enough about me. Listen, the show might slow down here and there because I got a lot to deal with in the next coming weeks. But hopefully I'll be able to keep it on track. I got a lot of time on my hands, so as long as I'm not screaming in pain, I'll just tell people to come on over and we'll do an episode.
You do a screaming in pain episode.
Yeah, maybe
that'd be spooky.
Maybe I can even bank a few or something.
You could.
So, yeah. All right, so we are going to talk. Emily and I, ever since we met, one of our things that we do is we sit and we watch a movie together or something like that. I mean, I guess that's most people, but we made a point of doing it.
Particularly bizarre documentaries of one kind or another.
Right, that's what we get. That's our jam.
Yeah.
And of course, I think it was last time you were here.
I think it was.
We did Pagan Invasion.
Yeah.
The very first episode of the Pagan Invasion series from, I think, 1990-ish.
Yeah, 1991, something like that.
And it was Halloween Trick or Treat.
Which was pretty good.
And we said, we're going to do another episode. Some of the episodes aren't really about spooky things. It's just these fundamentalist Christians kind of picking on Mormons or Eastern religion or something like that. So we kind of skipped over those episodes. And we went to one that we thought was going to be awesome. Preview
of the Antichrist.
Yeah, we thought this was going to be pretty good. And I'll hold our thoughts on it for a moment. But that's the subject for tonight.
Yep.
Before we dive into it, I want to remind everyone to check out the website, spookyassshit.com or spookyas.com. They both take you to the same place, and that is the show's blog page. You can also find each and every episode there, and you can find links to our social media. We are at spookyassshit on Instagram and Twitter, and you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/spookyas. All right, now, like I said, Emily and I, we're very excited to sit together once again and watch another episode of The Pagan Invasion.
Of course. The intro alone is worth the price of admission.
Yeah, we talked about it last time.
Yeah.
It's got this intro, which is interesting enough on its own.
Yep.
Just look it up on YouTube. You'll find it. We don't need to go into
just watch the intro. Don't watch the whole episode.
But I want to hear a good heavy metal cover of it sometime.
Oh, yes.
With like some Swedish, band.
Yeah.
With their... I forget what it's called. It's a certain kind of metal.
Some sort of long hair.
Like a Renaissance fair kind of metal. But
Okay.
there's a name for it, and I'm just blanking on it. But anyway.
Yeah, that'd be pretty all right.
Yeah, so we were pretty stoked for it. But overall, honestly, it was a pretty boring episode.
Well, it's going to seem a lot as we go through this. Like we're just hopping all over the place and not really talking very much about one particular thing. And it's because that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, it was all over the place.
I mean, to be fair, within the first 2 minutes of the actual episode, we got references to Hitler, Jim Jones, and Rajneesh Bhagwan. So, you know, it's not like they didn't give us a lot of stuff.
Well, but what's funny about that list
presented.
What's funny about that list you just made?
Yeah.
Is that the one they reference the most throughout the show is Rajneesh.
Yeah.
Like, most people probably don't even know who that is.
No, he had like, I don't know, a few thousand followers.
Yeah.
Maybe it was just really present in their minds at that time.
I guess so.
Because like it had just all gone down.
Yeah, he was a cult guy in Portland.
Yeah, and he tried to make a little mini utopia where people could just bang each other all the time and eat Whole Foods while he drove around in his Rolls Royces. Surprisingly, that didn't work out super.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But anyway, they were giving examples of people who might be considered a type of Antichrist, but of course none of them could have been the Antichrist because they didn't live to fulfill these certain prophecies, which we're going to get into, which was what really they weighed down the episode talking about, like, well, this prophecy, and then they just kind of bounced all over the place with it.
Well, I think maybe because of their audience, but also it's just a bad idea anyway, but it went like halfway through the episode before they actually explained what the Antichrist is.
Yeah. There was a lot of background.
A lot of background. And again, presented kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
Really no good order to it.
Yeah, it starts mostly by talking about, like, what are the foundations that will bring about the Antichrist, like what are the signs.
Fair enough. The signs of the
that will
apocalypse
come at the end of time.
So they, in quick succession, showed us a bunch of things. I mean, it's all like stock footage and stuff from other documentaries. Oh, so our hosts are Chuck and Carol, and we see a lot of Chuck in this one because I guess he starred in a documentary before this documentary about the same thing.
Yeah, the Halloween one was good in this, like, it was an entertaining episode, and it seemed like it was pretty, like, fresh material.
Well, they'd like done their own research a little bit. They'd bothered to interview people, and not in this one as much, except those weird dudes at the end.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Chuck in his snazzy Chris Hansen mock turtleneck look.
Brown on brown.
Brown on brown, with a pin, too. Nice little brooch. It was very cute. Anyway, they're talking about the ozone and hunger and gangs and false prophets and earthquakes and pestilence. And those are all signs of the
Those are all signs. But one thing is they showed a cover of Time magazine, and it said youth crime.
Right.
And it was like these, like, and I'm using quotations.
Yeah.
Gangsters.
Yeah.
It was a pretty funny cover, and I really want to check that out. So I'm going to try to look that up on eBay or something.
You should. Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, so those are all signs of the apocalypse. And also, incidentally, just kind of shit that happens over time. Earthquakes, pestilence, climate, whatever.
The ozone was new, but we just had the technology to figure it out.
Well, yeah. And also, like, that's pretty reachy to assume that the Bible knew about greenhouse gases. I don't know.
Well, of course the Bible did.
Yeah, sure. So that's the main, like, theme through all of this is that they say that the Bible specifically predicted each of these things.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know about that.
And also, like, it says certain things can't happen because it didn't say so in the Bible.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, they're completely convinced that the rebirth of Israel means that it's the final generation of man before the end times. That was the thing he said.
Yeah, and we're going to get one world government.
Right. Very important.
One world currency, one world religion.
Yep.
And it's going to be led by a charismatic political leader.
Well, that will be the Antichrist.
That's the Antichrist.
Yes. Is somebody who is going to bring, let's see here, peace. He can do magic. He's going to be super hot. He's going to be embraced by all the people. He's going to be worshipped. And mainly the peace thing is really bad. So watch out for anybody who wants to bring world peace. Yeah,
well, and the other point that they make, they say that, like, anytime man has tried to create a perfect civilization on Earth,
right,
that doesn't involve, like, total worship of God, then that has failed, and it always will fail. because there can be no perfect world outside of God, and there won't be a perfect world until these certain things happen. These terrible things, by the way.
Right. Terrible things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, this God guy,
Man.
he sounds like a rough one. Let's just
Not a
leave it at
fan.
that.
Yeah. A little rude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not the way that I would think that most Christians that I know,
Yeah.
and that I grew up with, and that I was at one time,
Mm-hmm.
would imagine God to be.
Yeah. It's a little different in the South.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. God's a bit of a dick. Like, really just is, all loving. But
Yeah,
is
well, that's
looking forward to burning everybody, really.
that's kind of the point about peace is they're saying that, like, no man can promise peace, only God can do that. So if a
Right.
man comes promising peace,
Sure.
look out.
Then, yeah. Don't believe him and resist him.
And by the way, when you look at the world, it does seem that anyone who opens their mouth about peace and becomes famous
Yeah.
doesn't generally end well for them. I'm talking about Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, John Lennon to a point.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there are a lot of people who are very concerned with the end times coming in their lifetime, and that it needs to happen, and that it's going to happen, including all of these people and Mike Pence.
well, there you go.
Really, really waiting for that nuclear war, which also occurs a lot in this documentary. They talk a lot about nuclear war.
Oh, one thing that they mentioned right around this time too is that when man tries to bring the world together as one,
Yeah.
that even though that sounds like a good idea on the surface,
Yep.
it's actually a really bad idea because it goes against God's directive to scatter
Right.
across the earth.
Yeah.
So according to their belief, it's not, God doesn't want us to all be one and brothers and treat each other well and
No.
and get along. We're supposed to scatter all over the world. And then, like,
Yes.
the true believers are the true believers and everyone else is just fucked.
Right, pretty much. Well, and they were talking about how, like, in 2300 BC in the land of Shinar, it was all one language in the whole world.
Yeah.
Dubious claim.
Well, they're part of the world, I
it's the
suppose, but that's
start of
definitely
the-
not the way they put it.
Yeah. I think you'd have to tell ancient Korea about that.
Another thing in this episode is Hal Lindsey is back,
Oh, Hal Lindsey.
author
God
of The
damn it.
Late Great Planet Earth.
Yeah.
He was in other Pagan Invasions.
Oh, man.
and
He's
I'm
a
sure
good
he
one.
pops up on most of them.
Yeah, it was him and the other guy, and I didn't catch his name.
And he's
and
not important.
I don't really
Hal
care.
Lindsey's
Yeah.
the superstar there
Pretty boring.
with his mustache.
Well, what kept striking me about the stuff that Hal Lindsey was saying, because he was really talking about how the Bible predicts all of these particular things happening. And it's like Bible as like Barnum questions book almost.
Yeah.
Like there's going to be strife. Like I'm guessing that you're gonna have like there's
Yeah.
gonna be starvation and maybe like tough times. And people aren't going to get along, but they might get along a little bit for a while, but then not. And it's like, well, yeah.
So like
dipshit.
every time ever in the history of the world.
Yeah. Well, and importantly, people in Jesus's time, in the time of the writing of the Bible, thought literally that was going to happen in their lifetime.
Right.
That the apocalypse would occur.
Well, and again, that also doesn't change because
Right.
now there's always some fundamentalist
Of course.
screaming, "This is it. This is the time.
This
The
is
end
the
is
time."
nigh." That
so
kind of
far,
thing.
none of them right. But that doesn't mean that somebody won't eventually.
But
be
what
right.
they're pushing, as you mentioned earlier, why this really is the time this time,
Okay, this time.
is because Israel
Right.
is back,
Yes.
and they're saying that that is a really bad thing.
Right.
But I'm a little confused on this
Well-
point because, well, they're saying that Israel gets their land back.
Yep.
Then they say the whole world, including the United States,
Mm-hmm.
is going to turn against Israel
Yes.
and come to destroy it.
Right.
I know I'm jumping a little bit ahead now.
It's okay.
But at this point,
Mm-hmm.
God himself
Yeah.
will appear out of the sky.
Correct.
Man
Mm-hmm.
will attack God
Yes.
with bombs and rockets and maybe even nuclear weapons, who knows what.
Yep.
And of course, this won't hurt God, and he'll go on to save Israel.
He will punish
Yeah, it did mention that they're going to punish him for not
Israel
accepting the Messiah
for
the
not
first
accepting
time.
the Messiah. Yes. And I think what they've neglected to mention at any point, if I recall correctly, is that people will be raptured. The good people will be raptured before the strife.
Is that it?
It's supposed to be...
Because I was wondering where they win in this, the fundamentalist Christians.
And they never mention that in this episode at all. That like
I did hear him say something about a rapture, but he was talking about some people believe it will be the rapture or whatever.
Right.
But...
No. So like they're supposed to be raptured before the strife, and then the heathens, a la you and me, we will be stuck here through all of the pestilence and war and all of that. And then there will be the actual like reckoning day where everything's gone.
I feel like I've lived in the woods before, and I kind of got a feel for it, so
and all the Christians will be gone, so it'd be like a fucking party, man.
Oh, Emily.
Oh, I know. That's what I find spooky.
Yeah, so that was just one thing that I thought of, but I guess maybe maybe they're taken out before all this trouble begins.
Well, whatever. Okay, so we're talking too much about the actual apocalypse and not what these weirdos are saying on the screen. So Soviet Russia is going to be taken over by Muslims.
They talk a lot about Russia.
My God. Yeah.
They're really afraid of Russia.
Well, of course, because think of when this was done. This was in like 1990 or 91.
Yeah, but it was right after the Soviet Union had broken up.
But still, like, I don't know. A lot of these guys were still talking. I
guess we're talking about Russia these days.
Yeah. But... Well, I wonder if some of this was recorded like years before, because again, like a lot of it's recycled shit from other things that Chuck was in. So they talk kind of at both times about Soviet Union and Russia separately. And also, quote, Red China, that will also ally with all Muslim countries.
And they say that they're like, well, they don't even like the Muslims, but they're going to ally with them because they hate the West so much.
Right, and then they'll destroy the West.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, this could be really bad for
that
us.
Russia is going to have to turn into a Muslim country.
Yes.
Because there are so many Muslims in what used to be the Soviet Union.
There you go. Yep. And then the EU is going to come together and ruin the USA, and then the Antichrist will be in charge of the EU.
Yes, which is going to be 10 countries.
Yes. Okay, so the Antichrist. This is exactly how they went about this.
And the thing is, they don't even spend much time on the Antichrist. They kind of are just the stuff that we kind of already said, that he's going to be a charismatic leader, he's going to be a powerful speaker.
Yep. He's
going to perform signs and wonders.
Yeah.
They don't get specific about it.
Nope.
They don't talk about what he's going to look like.
No.
And I remember when I was a kid, this was something that I was A, very afraid of.
Sure.
And B, like, totally believed in. And also thought, because when I was a kid, you know, my brother told me about Nostradamus. And of course, he doesn't mention, like, how vague everything is. And he's like, no, there was this guy who, like, knew that Hitler was coming. And he knew that, you know, blah, blah, blah. So I started to believe all this. My cat is being very adorable right now.
It's like loving on you.
Away now. Yeah. Yeah. I was just getting like roped by the cat,
Sweet.
basically. Yeah. Anyway, so I believed all this stuff, and if I remember correctly, I could be wrong, but well, I mean, fuck it. Everyone just makes up their own interpretation of Nostradamus anyway. But I do remember that there were specials on at the time, and then I remember my brother and my godfather talking about it.
Yeah.
Maybe we had watched the special together or something. I don't know. But they were saying that, you know, a man in a blue turban would come out of the Middle East and he would be the Antichrist. This wasn't the Bible. This was Nostradamus talking about it. But of course, then they were like, well, has anyone seen Saddam Hussein wearing a blue turban?
Oh, boy.
Because that was, you know, the day and age back in those times.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't know. Just random memory that sparked. But,
that's funny.
But that's the kind of detail I wanted.
Right.
To hear
about. Well, duh.
But they just said, no, he's going to be like a political leader, and he's
going to be awesome, and everybody's going to like him.
He's going to be a man of peace.
Right. That's specifically.
Because again, apparently peace is bad in this.
Bad.
Yeah.
And he's going to eliminate hunger, and he's going to like make everybody or think they're happy, but they won't really be.
Yeah, they say that basically he's going to come in and help out Israel. He's going to create peace in the Middle East.
Yeah.
And he's going as a show of good faith. He's going to build a temple right next to the Dome of the Rock.
Right, on the Temple Mount.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're going to build a Jewish temple there as a sign that, you know, but really what he's doing is he's going to take over that temple. He's going to insert himself as God.
Yeah.
He's going to present himself as God, and people will actually believe that he is God.
Right.
Through, again, his signs and wonders and that kind of thing.
Well, and they asked the question on Chuck asked the question, well, are liberal secular people going to really believe in this guy? And then he answers his own question that yes, of course they will, because all you have to do is look at Rajneesh. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, again, the guy had a few thousand followers. I wouldn't say that's the entire world falling under his spell.
But they also, this is where it comes in that you need to watch the other Pagan invasion series, because he does mention that the groundwork for belief in this Antichrist has already been laid.
Right.
Because of things like Eastern influence.
Oh, yeah.
And because of the God men, in quotations again.
Yeah.
That would be someone like Rajneesh, but not just him. But
Sure.
just people being able to convince, Westerners.
Well, he's talking about how
Westerners
yoga
of all people, how
is the
smart
way in.
we are.
Yeah, yoga
And
is
we never
the way
get
to-
anything wrong.
That's right.
Yeah. How could we be fooled?
Yeah, and he talks shit about yoga and talks about how Rajneesh caused VD and dysentery and narcissism, which are all equally bad.
Yeah.
Just like the Antichrist will.
But yeah, so again, they really hammer home that we know this is going to happen now, because yes, there's been pestilence and violence and that kind of thing before, but now there's even more. And of course, man has the ability to end the world with its own weapons.
Right.
And in 1948, Israel was made a state again.
Right.
So now the last thing that we need is the rebuilding of the temple.
Right.
And once that happens, brace yourself.
Yeah. Well, they don't mention the pure red heifer, but, not everybody knows about that, I guess. Whatever.
Yeah.
And they're talking about how, like, they seem really concerned with how they're going to build the temple on the mount, that, like, with technology these days, they can do, like, a pop-up temple kind of thing. Like,
yeah, they kind of did go, like...
He was really concerned with that.
Like a McTemple.
Yeah, like, just throw it up there, no problem. The way they can build these days, like, all right, I guess. Okay, so after the Antichrist fucks everything up with peace, then Jesus is going to return on the battlefield
For 3.5 years.
Yeah, so, again, there's definitely better descriptions of what the actual end times are meant to be.
Yeah, well, someday we'll get into Revelation or something.
Yeah, that'd be really fun.
Yeah.
I want to talk about sword mouth Jesus. I really do. And vagina moon. I want to talk about all those things. So the final battle. I also like that they refer to the Antichrist as the man of sin.
Yeah, well, that is how he's referred to in the Bible, too,
Yeah,
though. So
great.
that's where they're getting that from.
That's right.
But, yeah.
I just like when they refer to him that instead of the Antichrist. Oh, and as soon as they talk about the final battle, we're immediately back to Hitler.
Yeah, people love comparing things to Hitler.
Boy, do they. And specifically that Hitler's evolutionism, I think was the word they used, that he was an evolutionist.
He was an occultist, and he believed in Darwin.
And a pagan.
So.
Right. Yeah.
And then he claimed to be Christian, but he wasn't really Christian.
Well, who do we have around now who claims to be a Christian, but isn't really, but people give him I just can't think.
Yeah.
Of who that might be. All right, moving on. Oh,
Emily's getting fierce on this episode.
sorry.
She's
I'm
calling out
cranky about
everybody.
shit.
I'm the one fucking laid up and broken over here.
I know it's true, but now I work with a bunch of dudes, and a lot of them are conservative, and so I end up
boy.
being the angry liberal a lot of the time. They bait me.
Oh, boy.
It's all right. I'm okay. So then there's nuclear war. That'll be the impetus for Jesus to return. In the Valley of Israel?
I couldn't catch the name. They had a specific name, and I think it was something more exotic sounding than that, but
Yeah.
they did have a certain place where, like, this is where it's going to go down.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, the thing is, I know that when I was a kid, again, I was raised Catholic and totally believed all of it because I was told, like, that's the way it was, you know?
Yeah.
And I can just imagine, like, if I had seen the special when I was a kid,
Oh, man.
I would have been like, that's it. That's the place.
Yeah.
It's going to go down.
Right there.
But the other thing is, they keep saying that this is going to happen in this generation. How long's a generation? What does that mean exactly?
I don't know.
Because 1948 was a while ago.
It really was. Like, if you were a baby in 1948, does that count as your generation?
I don't know. I mean, there's definitely people that were still alive
Oh,
back
yeah,
then, still
sure.
alive today.
Of course.
But
Yeah, I don't know. I always feel like, oh, if you're in your 20s or 30s or middle age-ish area, then that's the time of your generation. Not like if you were born in 1948, you know?
yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. It's weird.
What's a biblical generation? There's probably an answer to that.
Who the fuck knows? In the Bible, people live like 600 years.
Yeah,
So, 600 years?
I don't know.
I don't
See,
know.
I want to do a whole different episode about the end of the world, and not just from a Christian perspective,
sure.
but just like what the end of the world. But one thing I would say about it is like if if there is some thing where it's going to happen, yeah, it would be terrifying probably. But on the other hand, at least you know how the story ends.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're gonna go, like all right,
yes.
the end of the world. This is it.
It's a good
huh?
time.
All right.
Good time to go if you're going to go.
Yeah.
You saw it all the way through. Well done.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Just a thought.
Just a
saying.
thought. Just pleasant thoughts for your Oxy day.
Yeah. Well, and I was just getting, to allow me to ramble here for a moment.
Uh-huh.
Getting ready for my surgery. I mentioned this to you already, but
Mhm.
I don't get real nervous about the surgery. I've only had one before in my life. But so, I'm a little bit nervous about it. I'm afraid of like complications and those kind of
Yeah,
things.
sure.
One of the things I worry about being a bigger guy, are they going to get the anesthesia right?
Mhm.
If they don't, am I going to die? And I mentioned this to a woman she's not really family by blood, but she's an aunt
Close enough.
basically. So
Yeah.
I mentioned this to my aunt, and she was like, well, if you died from anesthesia, you won't know it.
Yeah.
It's like, that's a really good point.
It is a good point.
It wouldn't be a terrible way to go.
Yep.
So listen, I don't want to die, and
You're
if
not
I
gonna
do,
It's your foot.
Dr. Skanga, fuck you. But if I survive, I'll
Yeah.
be back next week.
Pretty much. Glad to hear it.
And the doctor was awesome. So
Yeah.
we'll
that's
see.
true.
All right, then. Continue.
So what do we do about the apocalypse? What do we do?
We read the Bible.
There you go.
That's the advice we're given.
That's it. They don't even really say that you need to, and again, this is maybe just by virtue of who these videos are made for, but they don't really say like, oh, you need to turn your life over to Christ, or you need
They
to.
kind of do at the end, but that's how they wrap up every video.
Exactly, like a bit, but they don't really push that like the only way you can save yourself from this is to, be Christian. So, but that is the only way, I think.
Well, probably at the time they thought the only people watching this either were these types of Christians or people they were, like young people they were grooming to be these types of
Yeah.
Christians. So it was probably a little bit of a scare tactic.
And it's also understood.
I think that they probably do actually believe these things, but I think
Yeah.
it's also a scare tactic. Like,
Oh, of course. Yes.
It's not that they don't believe it, but they are trying to scare you into being good,
Yeah, for sure.
or good in their eyes.
Yeah. I mean, it's always one of those things when people talk about that the end of the world is coming. Like, if you were so sure, then what are you doing with yourself?
Yeah.
Like there have been a few prophets over time who have actually, put their money where their mouth is and gotten rid of all their shit and, prepared themselves to die. But most of them just kind of, like Harold Camping, he sent out post-apocalypse flyers being like, whoops, like already had them ready to go before the supposed apocalypse was supposed to happen. Like, like they put out a spring issue and it's like, wouldn't you just say the last issue?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, what are you going to do?
I guess it depends on what your worldview is, but
Yeah.
I mean, I got news for everybody. The world is gonna end in a way because you're gonna die.
Sure.
It's on your schedule.
Yep.
I don't mean to bum you out,
No.
but
Well, and also the world will eventually cease to exist.
yeah. Well, that's a whole nother thing.
Probably
Yeah.
not soon, but maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've seen Armageddon. That looks pretty real.
Yeah.
Bruce Willis can't save us every time.
I don't know. I don't want to get too deep into my philosophical
Into
ideas, but I guess
nihilism.
it just depends. I guess it just depends what you believe in.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Hmm.
I know. We're going to get all nihilist on here. I'm going to get all political and cranky, and you're going to get all nihilist, and then we're going to be here all day. This is not a good look for either of us.
Yeah.
Well, I will say, they did say this phrase, God-shaped vacuum, which is my new band.
Yeah, well, that's a very common phrase,
It
actually.
is.
That's a quote from something, I forget exactly.
I love it.
But that's just, yeah, they're just talking about you're searching for something.
Yeah.
You're, a meaning of something.
Sure.
I'm a big believer in it's the meaning that you put into it that,
Yeah.
creates something. But
Well, hey, whatever you got to put in your vacuum to get you through the day, I guess.
yeah. Am I rambling more
A bit.
on this episode?
I think I am too, though.
You came out swinging
We're
today.
both a little loopy.
All right. I feel like I feel like I'm speaking very mellow for the most part.
You are.
And then I'm like, I feel like I'm rambling.
I don't know if you're rambling,
Good.
but you are mellow. This is a low energy episode. You can't spend
I'm
too much energy.
literally lounging on my
You
couch.
are.
So I have to keep my feet up, and I'm sitting here like she's gonna paint me like one of her French ladies.
Exactly how you're sitting. Oh man, awesome.
Mhm.
Yep.
We'll have to take a picture, I guess.
I should. Or maybe I'll draw a picture.
Yeah. So my biggest disappointment
Okay.
with this is
Yeah.
that they didn't say like he's gonna come out, he's gonna wear like a blue suit, and he's gonna have his slicked back hair, and he's
Nope.
nothing like that, and then he's gonna come forward and he's gonna cause this kind of suffering, and he's gonna do this to
Nah.
people, and it was nothing exciting.
Well, because that's not how you do cold readings,
Yeah, I suppose.
right? Like you don't say something super specific. You just say something's gonna happen.
Well, okay. So yes, you want to leave it vague enough to like fit in any political leader that you can think of at the time. Because a lot of people, I'm sure there were people saying this is Obama
Oh
at
God,
the time.
so many.
Because he seemed like a peaceful guy. He got the Nobel Peace Prize even though he was
Right.
fighting 2 wars at the time.
Yeah, a little odd.
But a lot of people are saying he was the man.
Yeah, and a great speaker, and
Yeah,
you know.
so you can plug in, but you can also then plug in someone like I said earlier, Saddam. Did I say Saddam Hussein or Osama bin Laden earlier? I
No, you
meant
said
Saddam
Saddam,
Hussein.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Someone like him. So like just any number of ways you can
Oh,
go
yeah,
with
sure.
it. But that's only to a point, because then you have to. I mean, they said that God's literally going to come out of the clouds.
Right.
So like that either happens or it don't.
Or it
like
doesn't.
it's not
Right.
like
Right. But the good thing about something like this is that they can just kind of kick the can down the road forever.
Yeah.
Like you really can. If it's so vague that like, oh, a country north of Israel is going to pull some shit, and it's like, okay, well, there's a few of those.
Yeah.
And then like there's gonna be starvation, but then not starvation. Like again, it's just shit that happens cyclically everywhere forever. So you really kind of can't go wrong. And if there's no apocalypse anytime soon, they're gonna die, and
Well,
then their kids are gonna think it.
We've said before this, like, if either you have to be a true believer or like a really heartless con man, but
Yeah,
this fundamentalist religion is a good racket to get into.
it is. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think these guys who are making these videos have found an interesting middle ground where they are, not completely screaming on the street insane, but I don't know. They're able to like couch it in some sort of calm, collected reality speak that is actual complete gibberish.
They seem like people who'd be willing to have a conversation with you, even if you disagreed with
Right.
things they were saying.
Oh, I've had conversations with these exact people a lot.
Yeah, no,
but
but
the fun
but
thing is to just get them actually talking, and
Yeah.
then you get the really interesting
yeah.
stuff.
No, I just meant as opposed to someone who is, like you said,
Oh,
screaming
right,
on the
screaming
street
at
or
you on the
something.
street. Yeah.
Or I think of those Emily. Again, we listen. Everyone's got hobbies,
That's true.
and Emily and I once in a while will look up just strange videos to watch.
Of course. Not porn.
Not yet, no, but
No. What are you trying to tell me?
If either one of us finds something that we feel
all right,
like,
we'll pass it along. Yeah.
but we found TikTok Ministries one day,
Oh man.
and it's this redhead-ish woman.
Yeah.
And she is like on there going on and on. I had to show it to Emily because the particular
man.
one I saw was about how a woman needs to be subservient to her husband because it
Yes.
says so in the Bible, and she went on and on about
Yeah.
it.
You're trying to help my marriage. That's very considerate of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they are definitely not people who are willing to listen. And she says, she's like, I don't want you writing in if you're an atheist. I don't want you writing in if you're blah, 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 because I know you don't really want to talk. You want to come in here. You want to push an agenda. You want to make fun of me. You want to blah, blah, blah. And I don't really want to talk. And I was like, oh,
To be fair,
Well.
she's not wrong.
Yeah,
I do want to
well.
make fun of her. But not to her face.
Yeah.
Just meanly behind her back.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
Yeah.
Anything else about the Antichrist? Someday we'll have to come back and do like a real episode about it.
I do want to.
Because this is really
fun.
a review of the video. It's not us
Yeah.
talking about the Antichrist.
Just a
but
lot
we
of
could
mock
do-
turtlenecks and stock footage.
Yeah.
Like, ugh. And Carol, boy, if anybody around here seems like they're on Oxy, it's Carol. She's a peach.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. So there's that.
All right, then. Well, if you've got nothing else, I'll wrap it up here.
Yeah, I guess so.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. I appreciate it, as always. We are getting very close to our 100th episode and our 3rd year in business. 3rd year?
3rd year? Yeah, something like that.
Because the
100
first...
episodes would
Yeah.
be 2 years if you did it every week.
It's 2... Okay, it's 2 years. Yes, that's true.
Right.
It's 2 years since the start of the show.
Yeah, okay.
So we're going into our...
Into your 3rd year. Whatever. You're on Oxy.
I know. I really, I don't feel it.
You're a little cloudy.
But then, yeah.
Yeah.
My brain's a little cloudy.
Yeah.
Man, oh man.
Ah!
All right. Well, this will be a fun collector's episode for
Yeah.
people. Like, oh, the time Eric was a little bit loopy.
Oh, my. Yep.
All right. I don't know what I was saying, but my point is, thank you for listening to the show. Please share it with your friends. Sorry I was a little loopy on this episode, but I think I explained myself. And you can check out the website, spookyasshit.com or spookyas.com. Find us on Facebook, facebook.com/spookyas. And don't forget to write nice reviews on iTunes. That would cheer me up
Yeah.
in my post-op.
Yeah, that'd be good.
If I went and checked iTunes and there was a bunch of 5-star reviews.
Wouldn't that be nice?
It would be.
Yeah.
So go ahead and do that. Make me feel better. Cheer me up.
That's your get well soon.
Yeah. And in the meantime, don't be afraid.